Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Star Labs Confidential. Today, we're going to be continuing discussing all things Superman related, as we have actor Kevin Caliber with us, as he played the Man of Steel in both Supergirl Season 1 and the fan film Supermen World War. Thank you for joining the show, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love what you do, and I love to talk shop about Superman any chance I get.
Agreed. It's amazing how the character's still relevant after 85 years now.
And it will be even more relevant in 85 years from now, guarantee it.
So, what is it about Superman that you like so much?
Just being a kid. I mean, he was the prototype. He just was what you felt was a superhero. He didn't have the cool weapons or the gadgets. It was just him and his body, and he was able to create it all just from within, and that's what really made it special.
Same with me. That's why I liked how, between him and Batman, they're just so opposite in more ways than even with their arch nemesis.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's pretty much he was given this gift that it's up to him to utilize in the right way. Where somebody say Batman, it is so much of it is manufactured that he had to have all these outside resources help him. Where Superman was just born with it, and it's more about how he uses it. That's so great.
Agreed. So, what was your first exposure to Superman?
Well, I was born in the early 80s, so of course the old Superman movies. I think that the first one that I actually saw was Superman 3, ironically. And to me, that was Superman. That was the movie that I saw. And then whenever we went to the video store, I saw the box for Superman the movie. And it just threw me off thinking oh, there's more Superman. And I'm like, I need this. And they're like, no, you've seen Superman. I was like, I've not seen this. And it was funny to watch it with Christopher Reeve. He was so young, and he's or younger than obviously part 3. So, and it was just such a big movie, and so just having that throughout my entire adolescence, and then there was that big gap outside of course, there was Lois and Clark in the 90s, but outside of that, there was a pretty big gap between proper Superman on the big screen, because as much love as there is for the TV versions, I'm a movie guy through and through. So it was Christopher Reeve was my Superman for forever. Even still to this day, I love the work that Henry's done, but Christopher Reeve is my guy.
Oh yeah. I say for most people, new or old, they always have Christopher Reeve as the gold standard when it comes to Superman.
Yeah, absolutely, and deservedly so. I mean, he really did set the bar in the perfect way. Just his portrayal of it, and the way that he even, put on the extra weight to play the role and things like that. So it goes a long way.
Agreed. So I guess you could say he was a bit of an influence in your life growing up.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny to look. I even have pictures of me, baby pictures of me wearing my little Superman shirt. And there's several pictures of these, and there's not a whole, it wasn't like today where everybody has cameras and all of our phones have cameras. We all have a bajillion pictures. And back then, pictures were, much more of a rarity, especially in my household. I was the middle of 5 kids, so there's not a lot of pictures of me as a kid, but there's this common theme of me wearing my little Superman shirt, and it could be, just I remember there's one picture of me I'm I don't even have pants on, just wearing the shirt, and I think I was out of diapers then, so it's just little tidy whities and a Superman shirt, and that's just what it was, and that was the lunchbox that I had. So yeah.
Very nice. I bet you. Do you wear any Superman related stuff now among your family and stuff?
Every now and again. It's funny that I actually have a lot of Superman memorabilia, and I haven't bought any of it. It's something it's a common theme that that's what they give me as gifts, what they always tend to do. And even before I was, gifted to play the role of Superman, it was still something that people got me. I have an old Superman t-shirt that I've had for 15 years that I've just always had. So it's kind of funny, and people probably can't see this, but for anybody who's seeing it, you see what I'm holding on to. Anybody who is just listening along, I actually have my Superman cup that I sit here and I drink out of every day. And again, it was a gift. So it's a lot of Superman merchandise just everywhere that I look. It's all over my house. So it's if anybody needs to give me a gift, anything Superman, I love it.
Gotcha. Have you ever been to the Superman Festival in Metropolis?
I
Illinois?
have. So this with this mug. I'm again, anybody who's not listening along, this is a Superman mug from Metropolis. I went to the Superman celebration, I want to say 5 years ago. It was a great opportunity. We actually screened our film Supermen World War there. I was there with the director, Donnie Callahan, and I was there with Charlie Sofer, who's the biggest Superman guy that I know. We used to, he's actually dubbed St. Louis Superman. That's my hometown of St. Louis. So he's the official St. Louis Superman, and I'm just the other Superman that happens to be from St. Louis. So yeah, the celebration there was great. My father drove up and we got a picture underneath the big statue, and it was a great time. I highly recommend anybody who's a big fan. There's a Superman museum there. The people that run it are all fabulous. Just really super cool all around. Just a great time.
Oh yeah, I've been there last year. It was an amazing time being there with all the people, so friendly, and seeing like some of the guests from Smallville and George Newbern. It was a great time.
Yeah, every year they bring in really cool guests. Like I said, I was lucky enough to be there 1 year, and it was so much fun. I look forward to going back. It's not something you go to every year. I mean, they have the good rotation. I think maybe Aaron Smolinski might be, he's one of the regulars there. But yeah, they'll rotate through. Tom Welling may be there. Dean Cain may be there. Hopefully they'll be able to get everybody at some point in time.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping they get Tim Daly at least for once, because he's recently started appearing at cons.
That's amazing. Yeah, I hope so. I'm sure that they will. If ever there was a con, that's a good one to go to. Like you say, everybody's so nice. That Midwest hospitality meets Superman fandom, where there's actually a group on Facebook. It's the Super Friends of Metropolis. I highly recommend you join it if you're not already, or anybody else out there that wants more information on this. Like I said, it's just an amazing community that's just all things Superman, super supportive, nicest people in the world.
Oh yeah, very much so. So have you before, I guess, any of the work you've done as a character, you ever auditioned to play Superman in any movies or TV shows?
So I actually played Superman one time before Supergirl. I was cast in it was kind of a comedy drama short film, and the guy's like, I just need somebody that really can play Superman. And it wasn't full suited up. We dubbed it the sneak peek. It was after Ben Affleck was announced that he was going to be playing Batman. So a Boston-based comic that I know, or that I met on this project and became good friends with, his name is Michael Wally. He came up with this funny concept of him playing Ben Affleck, and he needed a Superman. So we played opposite each other on that one. I booked the part on that, and that was the first time that I tried to be Superman. So it was the way that I talked, and then whenever it actually came time for Supergirl, it was the audition called for a Superman type. It didn't have any other details. There was just an address for the audition, and I went, and it was on the Warner Brothers studio lot. So whenever I went there, I even remember I'm standing on the street corner waiting to cross the street to walk onto the lot, and this gentleman just comes up right next to me, and he's wearing this tight blue shirt. He was bigger than I was. He was taller, and I just look at him. He had the perfect hair, and I was like, this guy looks just like Superman. And then we go across the street, we go in through security, and then security gives us, oh, you're going to, room 105. Oh, you're going to room 105. We walk together, not really together though. Like we're not there together. We're not friends. We realized that we're going up for the same part, and I still wasn't sure what it was. And we go in for the audition, and I went to use the bathroom. And in the bathroom, there was a sign in the bathroom that said something about a Supergirl. And I was like, Supergirl. And it all started to click. I was like, I think this is for Supergirl, but it still didn't say Superman. And so we go through one audition, and then there's a lot of people there for the bigger auditions. There's a lot of people there, and then it got smaller and smaller, and then it came time to it that I actually met Glenn Winters, who was directing the pilot, and he was the one that did Smallville, and so he had that Superman lineage. and he literally got down on the ground with a camera, and he's getting the sun behind me because it was the epic silhouette shot that we were gonna get. And he's got the sun. He's like, stick your hand out, and he's getting the sun just right. And then there was 3 of us that were in that final thing. And then he goes over to talk to the other producers, and then they came over to me and they said, can you go to a fitting right now? I was like, absolutely I can. So I went straight to the Warner Brothers costume department and got fitted for the super suit. They actually built the suit for me. And that was, and I'm still not exactly sure. I was pretty sure that it was to be Superman, but everything's so secretive. You sign NDAs. I mean, everything, they use code words, code names. You don't know what you're doing. And then it wasn't until I saw on the sheet, the size sheet that they gave me, that at the top it had my name and then it said character and it said Superman. And then that was like, it all started clicking that like I was going to be Superman throughout the first season.
Interesting. That's pretty good though. I mean, though, it's funny that I think I saw a behind the scenes shot where you just had a generic blue suit, like not even a symbol on you or anything.
Yeah, they specifically held back on the shield. There was a reason for that. It was a legal reason because, again, marketing and what they have ability to use on screen is really interesting. So even though it was they never said Superman. I was Kal-El. I was, her cousin. I was, because I'm sure it's so much in licensing just to have the S, to have the name. So they never really said it. So even on IMDb, I was credited as Kal-El. So they would say it on like the call sheet. Whenever I went to my trailer, it said Superman, but none of that's on camera. So there was none of that. And so it was interesting, but it was definitely, it was built for me. I think I went to 3 different fittings for it. And because I was getting fitted to play Superman, I got in incredible shape. I've always been a big fitness guy, and I got in the best shape, and I'm trying to be built like Superman. And I took a little bit of weight off my midsection and to be nice and fit and trim. So I go in for the final fitting, and they're like, it's kind of loose around here. And they actually had to snug it in a little bit more because I actually changed my body in those whatever it was. I think it was three weeks from the start to actually being on set.
Interesting. But I feel like they both have like the same kind of symbols, so it's like, how could there be like a licensing issue if it's 2 characters with the same symbol?
Right? Yeah. I mean that Superman in the licensing is like that's like gold. I guess that's one of their big money makers. But you're right. It seems like it's the same symbol, which essentially I don't know what the real difference is. So maybe there was some sort of specific in it that they did. And it was funny because obviously Superman became a part of the show in a much greater capacity by season 2. And that was after it already moved to CW, because it was originally on CBS, and it was filmed in LA. We did everything in Malibu and in Acton and in Burbank, and that's where we did all of our filming at. And then for season 2, the entire show actually moved to Canada, because almost all CW shows are filmed in Vancouver, Canada. So whenever it moved up there, I mean, who knows, for whatever reason, I guess they had that ace in the hole that they were waiting to play. They knew that they could play Superman. They were trying to do everything that they could to establish Supergirl as obviously the star of the show. They didn't really want to steal her thunder. So I think they did a really good job of establishing her as a very good character. And then you could bring in Superman. Then obviously they were able to put him right into all the shows that Superman has been in since, from that iteration.
It's quite funny. And you were only Superman just for that one shot, because I think there was like another Superman appearance season 1, like briefly, I think, like fighting against some bad guy. Like, was that you too, or was that someone else?
I think that one might have been someone else. There was scheduling conflict a little bit, but we filmed a lot. Like, we filmed quite a bit. I was on several locations. We did. Glenn really wanted to really shoot a lot of Superman. So we weren't sure what it was going to do. Obviously the epic silhouette was the one that, it was in the opening credits. It was the one that really solidified But even whenever you see the hands going in, opening up the thing to help her out, I was holding her hand whenever I gave her to her foster parents, which was of course played by Dean Cain and Helen Slater. I was there that day. I literally sat in the makeup chair in between the two of them, and that was, you know, one of those geek out moments where I look and I got a Supergirl next to me and a Superman next to me, and I'm sitting in between them. And so we filmed quite a bit, so I'm not sure where they were going to use things, because sometimes they reuse footage in different ways, things that they shot, because everything was glimpses. And yeah, you're right, there was the shot of the low angle shot of from like the sidle kind of, you know, below and you see the cape. And I don't think that was me, but we shot so much, I'm not even for sure. So that might have been another double though.
Gotcha. I mean, I guess, yeah, that makes sense, because, yeah, I forgot what the episode was. I know it was like 1 or 2 episodes later after the pilot, but that makes sense, yeah, because it was definitely like a behind-the-scenes shot. We're seeing the cape, basically, with you basically going up against, like, some kind of firepower, just, like, walking through it, no problem, and then just left.
Yeah, that's all you saw. Yeah, it almost became a joke that can he always show up late to the party, and you know, like I think he like texts her or something. You know, it's kind of a funny thing how it all played out.
Yeah, but I guess because Supergirl, like, any chance we could see like that other thing you were part of, like, online, or is that never got through? Which one
are you talking about?
The one you did like before the Supergirl edition, the one you're talking about in Boston, you said?
Oh yeah. That one's online. That one's on my YouTube. That one was just called a Sneak Peek of Ben Affleck as Batman. So that was 8 years ago now. Wow, it's crazy how long that's been. So yeah, Sneak Peek of Ben Affleck as Batman. Yeah, it was my buddy Michael Wally. He's really funny guy. Me and him went on to do just a whole bunch of fun comedy shorts together. He was a really good writer, so we did a lot of those. So a lot of fun working with him.
Very nice, yeah. Because for that one, did you have like a Man of Steel-ish kind of costume or traditional Superman look?
That one was the joke on that one is that it was the two guys at the end of a work day. So we were both wearing suits with a t-shirt underneath, looking like we had undid our tie and loosened up a little bit. So it wasn't the full suit. And that was right around Man of Steel. Because I remember right as Man of Steel came out is whenever they announced Batman v Superman. So it was, you're right there in the era.
Gotcha, yeah, because I remember after Ben Affleck's announcement, I think it was College Humor, they did a little spoof about, like, you know, questioning, like, why do we need to team up or anything?
Yeah, it's funny how that is. Then you watch the movie and you're like, oh, because Gotham and Metropolis apparently are right next to each other. It was a shame. There was a lot of qualities of the Zack Snyder verse, of course, that I loved. I've worked with Zack a few times. He's a brilliant filmmaker. I love his vision, his passion. He's so hands-on and just an awesome person on set. So I had super high hopes for that. And of course it was hit and miss in spots, but I still like what he created and that he was trying to do, something a little different. It wasn't what Burton did. It wasn't what a lot of these guys did. It was definitely its own look in its own way. And I think that's part of the cool thing about having different filmmakers and different styles to do it. Obviously, if you look back at the original Superman movies compared to what they are now, it's completely night and day. But I appreciate that they try and do something different. As much as I enjoy Marvel, I do love Marvel and love a lot of the Marvel work, but eventually a lot of that started looking the same. And then even say Taika Waititi took over Thor, and all of a sudden they were fun, they were different, they went, and then Sam Raimi did one, and all of a sudden it's almost like a horror movie, with the multiverse of madness, and I like that they are trying to do something while still trying to contain it, because anytime they all start to look the same, it's a little different. So hats off to Snyder. I think that the work that he did, I know it's not universally beloved, but I really did enjoy his work for what it's worth.
Yeah, I agree. Because one thing I could say for Zack Snyder, he's definitely a great visual director. And when it comes to casting actors, like, depending on the role, they definitely have them, like, get really, like, in good shape to really showcase, like, you know, the raw power these characters can do.
Yeah, absolutely. First thing that I ever did was Zach. I was in the 300 sequel, and he was just so hands-on. Walked right up to us, and of course, we're all in incredible shape for that role. Even the audition process to audition for a 300 movie, it was, you know, about movement and about how your abs are going to show and how, you know, how hard you could flex and move and make it look good, because it's such a visual type thing. And again, it's show not tell, and the way that he did it, and that's one of the problems with some of the movies, I think, is that they did a little more telling than they should have. You know, they should have just let it show some of the story. It was one of the things I didn't care for with the Man of Steel and them is I really didn't. I mean, Amy Adams is a great actress, but I really didn't care that much for her character as Lois Lane, because she was there to deliver all, you know, everything that's going to happen, and it felt like every time, and you know, it kind of takes away from it, where the, you know, I think the show not tell, like you could just have Zod show up and he's awesome. You know, it's you know, not everything needs an explanation and an origin. You know, we let us use our imagination a little bit.
Yeah, I guess that's the one thing with Man of Steel, because I feel like Smallville ended like 2 years before Man of Steel came out. So I feel like, why do another origin when people just finished doing a 10-year journey of Clark transitioning to Superman?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you look at where like Spider-Man is now, I'm so glad they did not do another origin story of Spider-Man. We all know who Spider-Man is, and to bring Tom Holland into that universe, you didn't need anything. Iron Man, hey, you're I know who you are. Hey, come fight with us. The next thing you know, you're just thrown right into it. And it was genius. I love the new Spider-Man movies. That's probably my favorite franchise going right now out of all of them, because it is just so fun, and you just give the character a chance to grow into it, because you realize how young he still is, Spider-Man. So to kind of give the guys a chance to grow into it, like you say with Man of Steel, like they probably could have just jumped in, kind of like they did with Superman Returns, where it's just like, hey, we all know who this is. Let's just pick up there and give us a good solid story.
Yeah, because I saw this meme where, like, with people that have problems with Superman Returns, it's like, you know, same kind of storyline, just nothing's really different, just another Luthor plot. And then with Man of Steel, we get something different, but now people are like, let's just bring it back to the good old days of Superman. I'm like, gotta find some middle ground with that.
Yeah, and I don't know where that middle ground is. Maybe the Batman did a good job of it last year, where I think he's supposed to be like Batman Year 2 or something like that. Like he's still fresh at it. He's not just this perfect guy that just goes in and never gets hurt. He's still figuring out his ways, but we didn't need to see, you know, the parents get shot again, him in a cave again. Like, we know that.
Yeah.
So bring it in where they did. I love what Matt Reeves did with that franchise in that way. I mean, we'll see where it goes from here as they continue to make them. But I did enjoy that, you know, we know he's a younger guy, and that you could kind of thrust him into it. And you know, and kick it in with a like, wherever it is, oh, he's got another villain, but we're not sure exactly who this guy is yet. So the first time that you see the Batmobile, it's a little different. But, you know, to go back to, you know, they did not that the first Batman, you know, Burton's Batman back in '89, not that was an origin story, but of course, you know, it still does show, you know, the parents get killed. Like, at least it's in like a flashback. They're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Where obviously what Nolan did with Batman Begins was, you know, the true origin story. So it's like we've gotten that. Good. That's a masterpiece. We never have to go there again. But please keep making Batman movies. I love it. I love the Batman. One of my favorites of last year.
Yeah, I think my favorite Year 2 story would probably be like, it was the video game Arkham Origins. That's like where he meets like several notable bad guys, and all happen on Christmas Eve as he's being hunted down by 8 different assassins.
Wow, yeah, that's rad. I would love to. Hopefully they could, you know, because there's always been talk, and with the way that the last one left off with them going to Arkham, and then we're kind of introduced to what is that the Joker? Is it, which I think they did confirm that it was supposed to be the Joker that he was in there with, but yeah, that's because there's always been talk of more Arkham type stuff, and I'm right there with you. It's such good stuff. So many characters, because obviously the hero is only as cool and is put up there as the villain. You need a good villain to make the hero worthwhile. And with that, there's so much good stuff there that make it right. Throw everybody at him.
Agreed. Yeah, that's one thing I like about Arkham Origins. I think they did like the best interpretation of Bane, because he had the more comic book look aesthetic with the venom and everything, but they showcased his intelligence, how he's able to have his own group of mercenaries and even deducing Batman's secret identity and stuff.
Very cool.
I feel like they could have done, some combo of that for The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, they made the choice, and can't fault him for it. It was still, obviously, it was a really cool film, and what Tom Hardy brought to that role, of course. And I did really like the bad guys that from the Nolan trilogy. I think he really did a good job with that.
Yeah. I guess now I'm thinking maybe it could have been like a face paint mask or something for Bane. That way it doesn't look like, too luchadorish.
Yeah, a little bit. I feel you there. And I don't know, maybe that's in Tom Hardy's contract, because every time it seems like he works with him, he's got some sort of face covering.
Oh, I know, like with Venom, I guess sort of Venom. I mean, that's mostly CGI, and then I think his role in that Mad Max movie.
Mad Max, and then there was Dunkirk, and then there was several of just cover up the mouth. Yeah.
I'll laugh if he ever gets a Star Wars role and he has to wear a mask too.
Well, he had a funny one. There's a real old shot of him where he was on Star Trek, and he had full make. I don't know if he was a Klingon or what he was, but so it's one of those funny old ones, one of his early acting roles.
Oh, nice. So, I guess when it came to the fan films Superman World War, what drew you to become a part of this feature?
Well, I had met the director. I met Don Callahan. We did another project together that he was the DP on. So he was shooting us on one, and then I just told him, I said, hey, if you're ever out in LA, hit me up. I did that in my hometown of St. Louis. I think we were right across the bridge in Illinois, and so I met him, and we got along well, and I told him if he ever came out to LA, hit me up, and he ended up coming out for a couple days, and we hung out, and his dad was there, and then it was right after that they approached it and go, hey, Donnie's been thinking about making his first feature film, and his dad was going to help him make it. He executive produced it. His dad did a lot of work for it, and then they came to me like, hey, we got this idea of doing a Superman role. And I found the idea very intriguing. Of course, it's really hard to do that type of work on a lower budget without, of course, all the necessities that you need. But I said, hey, if your vision's good, so they did some test footage of some of the other stuff. So I kind of had an idea of what it was going to look like. They broke down the storyline of with it being World War II based. So, they told me it was going to be, fight Hitler and the Nazis and all that. And you talk about your bad guys, of course, they had their own version of Superman with Metallo, but it was, all right, well, if anybody's going to have a good bad guy, I guess Hitler's about as bad a guy as you could have for a villain. So I read it, and there's pieces of it that are a little fluff. It's a little, little campy in its own way, but then it really gets really raw in its own ways. I mean, we had some good raw storylines in there, very, not adult, but, we very much pushed it, and the entire cast and crew just everybody was so passionate about it, because working in LA, a lot of the filmmakers they see it as a job. It's just 9 to 5. The passion is there, or it was once there. Now it's kind of become a mundane day job, which I've been there too. I go to work on set sometimes. I don't necessarily want to be there. It's a paycheck, but back in St. Louis, it was the passion was just so there. So we brought in some people that were cosplayers, some people that were just, things like that to try and liven it up. And yeah, we had a blast doing it. It was a great experience. We filmed several times over. So I was flying back to St. Louis. I'd shoot for a week and then I'd leave and then I'd come back. We'd do a little bit more. And it ended up being a great opportunity. Every time I went back, I'd meet more people that I'm still friends with to this day. And we're actually still making it. We're still making some of the projects we did. We're making kind of a series out of it. So we did one episode of the episodic that was leading up to more. We've shot more already. We're gonna go shoot more this summer. So it's given us something it's something that's fun. Anytime I can go back and work with the Super family and just continue to do it. It's been a great opportunity. And anytime that I could put the suit on, it's just, I'll welcome that forever. And I say that now, but I've really enjoyed my time in the suit, and it's just great to work with passionate people that we could just go and have fun. I mean, I'm literally putting on a Superman suit and playing the role. And what was cool about that one is that I got to play Clark Kent as well. So I got to kind of bust out the acting chops, and whether it's my natural speaking voice is a little higher, but for some reason whenever I put on Superman, I don't go full Batman, but for some reason my voice drops a little bit because I'm a little more authoritative. And then I go to Clark and then my voice goes up a little bit. And so it is kind of funny because it is a challenge as an actor to play two roles within the same one. So it's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to just keep on making it.
So I guess it felt pretty good just to wear that suit when you're on set and everything.
Oh, there's something about it. The very first time that I officially suited up all the way, because I flew in, we did costuming through the mail. They would send it to me. I would try it on. I would mark on the sleeves where, I'm basically tailoring my own. I'm not doing the sewing, but I would mark where it actually needs to end in this and, pull it in a little bit here. And we'd take pictures and we'd send it in, and then they would alter the suit. And then I showed up in St. Louis. And Jeff Callahan, the director's father, the producer, he picks me up from the airport, took me straight to set, but I was Clark Kent that day. And I remember first day I put on this really cool old vintage suit, and we're standing out there and people just go walking by and they don't even know what we're doing there. We're just standing there. There's no cameras or anything. And someone walks by and they go, "Oh, look, it's Clark Kent." And I'm like, hey, I guess I look like Clark Kent, mission accomplished. And then it wasn't until I think day 3 that I actually put on the super suit, and I went into the dressing room and I suited up and I came out for the first time. This is the first time that the crew, the director, anybody had seen me in the full suit. Because even whenever I was taking pictures of myself, the S wasn't on it, the cape wasn't on it. It was just about the suit itself. Then you add the other stuff later. So it was the first time that I had officially done, and just walking onto set. And there was this moment where it was if there would have been a record playing, the record scratch would have happened. Everybody, there's this moment. And then I just walked right over to the director, and it's just it took him a moment to settle in what he was doing. He was directing a Superman movie, and now Superman is here. So and it's funny because it was literally day 3 of filming. So until that point I was Clark Kent, and all of a sudden Superman. So yeah, don't ever lose that feeling. And every time it goes on, a lot of it isn't glamorous. We were filming in an old factory downtown St. Louis, and so we're in this old factory, and I'm in this old dusty room. There's not even functioning water or anything. There's no mirror. So I go and I put on the suit and I come out. I'm like, is my cape straight? And still everybody's like, "Oh, Superman."
Yeah, because I'm glad they went with the Fleischer costume, because watching it, even with how they did the opening, it feels like this is basically what they would have done if the producers of the show, if they wanted to make a movie out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a cool decision by the filmmakers. I really like that they did that too. And it's kind of funny that since then it's become used more, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's true, because I'm sure you've probably seen that show Superman Lois, but they have him wearing the Fleischer suit a couple times.
Yep. And that was the joke, because we were like, we did it first. Tyler's always following in my footsteps.
Yeah. I'll admit, he's a good Superman. I guess I just feel like it's hard to believe sometimes because I don't know what's his height, but it looks kind of short. No offense to him. It's just weird seeing a Superman that's shorter than Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, that'll always sit a little funny. And but yeah, I'm not sure how tall he is, because yeah, he's obviously in great shape. He was a baseball player forever. He still plays baseball in movies, and he's one of the better baseball movie actors. And he's certainly got a good charisma to him. Seems like a very nice guy. I've never met him, but from what everybody says, he's a good guy. And he's got a good presence to him. Of course, he's a great looking guy, and it's not necessarily the traditional type of Superman look. People joke around with me, they're like, but you look more like, I'm like, yeah, so I mean, it's all right. Maybe they did want to go in a slightly different direction, because Dean Cain wasn't that tall either, and Dean Cain had almost like a thicker type build to him, and Tyler's definitely got like the longer, taller, leaner type of build. So I was just trying to be more of the all-American, muscly Superman. Like, I don't need those pads in there, this is all me.
Yeah, I was gonna ask for the movie. I'm guessing they didn't put much padding for your costume, given with your work ethic.
Zero padding. It was almost a joke by a director. He's like, how much weight did you put on? I go, put on, bro. I lost weight for this. I was like, I'm sucked in there so much that if I had any kind of belly whatsoever, it would show. So yeah, I did try to go a little bit thicker across the chest and shoulders. I really tried to widen out, because with that suit, with it being tailored down, and it's cool because the S does give you that natural V type look, because you want to be bigger across the shoulders, smaller across the waist, and the S definitely frames it really well. So I was ready for, I was bodybuilder ready for that role. And every time it does give me an excuse to stay in shape. It's like, anytime I gotta throw on that suit, I gotta stay in shape. I don't want to be looking like some of these guys do whenever they where they put in it. Because once you start getting into the manufactured pads, like I did enjoy Ben Affleck as Batman, but yeah, whenever they put it in, he looked pretty thick whenever he had that suit on, even in the black. Black maybe slimming, but he looked pretty thick in that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's funny, how like with superhero physiques they change. Like, I want to say like early 40s it had like a more of strongman kind of physique, but then towards, I guess, I don't know, I want to say like 90s, early 2000s, they changed the look to like, looking like bodybuilders. Especially one artist, I think it was Ed McGuinness, where everyone pretty much looked like Jay Olivia, Arnold Schwarzenegger sized bodybuilders.
Yep, yeah, that was definitely a thing. I don't know if it was the 80s that changed it. Whenever you look at the people that were, the action stars of the 80s, there was a kind of a change in size there, of course, with Arnold and Stallone and Dolph Lundgren and these big muscly guys. And then it did start to go a different way in the 90s, and then it's kind of gone back to that, which is funny because, like, I've met almost every superhero at one time or another that is currently going, and it's me and Chris Evans. We're pretty much the exact same size, like almost, like whenever he's buff, of course, like, because he thins down a little bit, but whenever he's Captain America, he gets buff, and we're almost the exact same size. Me and Thor. Chris is jacked too, but he's another one that thins down. But I actually worked with Robert Downey Jr. not too long ago. He's a little guy, and obviously it's part of the character is that it was perfect casting. I mean Robert Downey as Tony Stark is just, that may be the best superhero casting that there's been. It's like the role he was born to play. Or maybe I just loved him so much as Iron Man that I have no other recollection of there ever being another Iron Man. But yeah, it is kind of funny how that goes. It makes you wonder what say some of these guys will be in the next few years. Obviously, like Chris Pratt, he always tries to get in shape for Star-Lord, but he's still he's not a bodybuilder by any means. He's still, just like the buff dad type, type look.
Pretty much, but I say it fits his character because he's just basically like a space pirate thief kind of character.
Yep, yeah, and then it's like leave the buff guy to Drax, let Dave Bautista be the muscle of the group.
Yeah, they'll call me crazy. I feel like Chris Evans, he was like the biggest, I think, with the first Captain America movie, because it seems like with later movies he seems like not quite as big. Though it's hard to tell between the different suits and stuff.
Yeah, with the different suits for sure. I just remember, of course, the epic shot from Civil War with with him holding on to the helicopter and holding it down, and that was just like I don't know what he had for breakfast that day, but whatever it was, that bicep was was popping out. And but yeah, he looked incredible for the first one. I mean, he's a very committed guy as well. He never comes in out of shape. It's some of them are pretty funny whenever you see what Hugh Jackman looked like from the first Wolverine verse. I forget which one it was that he got really, really shredded, the one that he had the popping out of the thing scene, and he was just in such amazing shape. And they all say told that he was told by The Rock how to get in that type of shape, and and it's funny because he's one that as he's getting older he's looking better. That's something about a lot of people think whenever you're young and you're in shape, but it's actually the mature muscle shows much better as you get older. So guys actually hit their physical peak in their 30s or late 30s into their 40s. Well, like your athletic peak is more in your 20s. So we'll see what some of these guys look like. I'm curious to see what like Hemsworth's going to look like because he's playing Hulk Hogan in a movie. I'm curious to see
oh boy
what he does to, I'm curious because it's like we got, even in the last Thor, we got Thor naked in it. And, it didn't leave much to the imagination, but so I'm curious as to see what he's like as Hulk Hogan, to see where he could go. Because he's, as you can tell, I mean, he takes great care of himself.
Yeah, I imagine for that one, he's got to be like the biggest he's ever been. Because I feel like for the last Thor movie, he was definitely like, he pushed himself harder, I think, than even Ragnarok.
I agree. Yeah, and plus once you go shirtless, you kind of design the shoot around those shirtless days. Whenever you're going to go shirtless, so you really you dehydrate yourself so the muscles pop more. It's a whole thing because I compete on in bodybuilding shows. It's the same thing. I don't look like I do on stage every day, so it's like I'll go to some stuff. It's like cool. You want to go ahead and just pop your shirt off? I'm like, oh no, I gotta have 2 days to prep to take my shirt off. It's like you sound like a diva, but it really is. It's a professionalism. It's if you want me to go shirtless, tell me in advance so I could do the right thing. And if you want it in the movie, put it in the movie, because there's jokes like Vin Diesel whenever he used to go shirtless. I don't know if he goes shirtless anymore, but where he used to go shirtless, it would be like day one of shooting, like because whenever you're shooting 16-hour days, sometimes you don't necessarily have a chance to go to the gym. There's not enough hours in the day to eat properly, and you're snacking, you're drinking a lot of coffee, you're doing what you got to do to get through the work day. And it's a tough job. It's a grueling job. You may be on location. And so Vin Diesel, the joke is that he used to do it for day one, get all the shirtless shots day one, and you can see it in his face. His face is thin, and then he probably goes out and drinks a bunch of beer afterwards. Then for the rest of the movie, he's got a little bit of a beer belly, a little bit of the extra weight on his face and his chin. But hey, it's movie magic.
Yeah, because I remember when people were sharing that photo, I guess, of him in some hotel room smoking and just like having a gut showing, like people were just like shocked, like
destroying him. Yeah, and it's funny because that's probably what he looks like 9 months out of the year. Like so be it. There's nothing wrong with that. I've been people's ab doubles before. I've been I was Channing Tatum's ab double on a thing, and all of a sudden they cut it in. They'll either cut my head or cut my head off, put his head in, or it'll just be an inserted the abs, because me and Channing are almost identical in size as well. And but whenever he's obviously more of his cut, but it's like he doesn't have to walk around looking like Magic Mike 365, it's like he'll get in shape for that. Don't worry, whenever he becomes Magic Mike, he is in shape. But if you get him 2 months after they shot it and he's just spending time with his kids and he's in a hotel somewhere on a balcony like Vin Diesel was, then hey, he doesn't, he's allowed, he's a person, he's allowed to indulge.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because I think that happened with Ben Affleck, how when he initially filmed Justice League, when it was Zack Snyder's direction, he was in shape. But then when Joss Whedon took over and they had to do reshootings, people noticed that Ben Affleck looked a little more heavier than usual.
Yeah, you get puffy real quick. If you're cutting sodium or something like that, or you're dialed in on your diet, and all of a sudden you go right back to, eating potato chips and going for Taco Tuesdays and drinking your margaritas, all of a sudden, it could be in a week you could visibly look different. So, yeah, it's a tough bit, that was a tough one because remember it was Henry Cavill with the mustache as well. It's like, oh, you mean people have lives and they can't just come back and look the exact same that they did a year ago whenever we were shooting this?
God, the scheduling conflicts must have been really stressful around that time.
I could only imagine. You see some of the stuff they had to go through. So with that said, I am glad that we did end up getting the Snyder cut in the long run. Obviously, it was. I thought it played very well.
Definitely. I mean, a little too long, but at least we got to see his full vision.
Absolutely, yeah. I ended up watching it in two sittings. I kind of did. Somebody put a thing online where it's if you press stop at this scene, then it's almost like watching it like a mini series instead. So they kind of broke it down to like 50-minute segments where it's like if you press stop here, it's like an episode. So we actually watched the first episode, press stop, I think we ate, then we sat back down, watched again, then we came back the next day. So I watched it over 2 days and almost like it was episodic. And if you think about it like that, you're like, oh, it's 4 episodes. We only got 4 episodes of it. Like, I wish we got 8. It's funny, the mentality of going in. You can look at 20 episodes of a season of television, or you could look at a 2.5-hour movie. You're like, the movie was a little long. It's like, well, depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, people can binge watch an entire season. That's like, depending on which show or even streaming service. That's like a good chunk of time, and
12 hours or something.
Yeah, but people get a bit picky about with long movies. I mean, it's just basically the same thing. You just gotta pause at some point if you want to take a break.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of the same thing whenever Scorsese and The Irishman. They said they wanted to do it as a miniseries. He said, no, I don't want to do a miniseries. I want to do a movie. So same thing. It ends up being a 4-hour movie. And I saw the breakdown on that too. They're like, if you stop at the moment that this character dies, you stop it there. That's like the end of episode 1 or, whatever. They're like, and treat it like that. Just know when to pause it. You don't want to pause in the middle of a scene. But it's like, if you know when to pause it, it's not bad. So, if you look at like Stranger Things or something like that, I mean, those episodes started getting as long as a movie at the end of that. And it's, hour-and-a-half episodes. Like, that's a long episode. That is a movie.
Yeah, agreed. So, as far as in the World War, what was your favorite part or favorite scene that you got to be a part of in the movie?
In World War, the one that I really enjoyed doing was, it's such a weird thing. Fight scenes are so hard and so complicated, but I got to do a fight scene as Clark whenever it's revealed that he is Superman. That's whenever, the glasses come off. And we really rehearsed it a lot, and we ended up having to film it almost like in 2 sections because it was so involved. But I got to have a big Superman punch. I got to, you see Superman getting the strength as he goes. And with it, it wasn't an origin story, but it was him finding his powers as he goes. Like, I don't know if it was portrayed appropriately, but even whenever he takes off and flies the first time, like, oh, can he do it? Because he wasn't sure of his own powers. So the fight scene just was so much fun to do. And all the guys that I was working with, we had 4 or 5 different guys. And it was just so, like I said, so involved that it was just so much fun. And then some of the other, of course there was funny banter. with kind of the pseudo Jimmy Olsen character. We had him named Private Donnie Callahan, named after the director, which was super cute. So so the three of them together was really funny because we had a really tough Lois. She was she was kind of the heartbeat of our thing, and she was really tough, so she would kind of like talk down to Clark in a little bit. They decided to play it like that, so to see him like, oh, I don't know, Lois, as he's backing down from her. But so there was a lot of really good moments in that for sure.
Yeah, you give a pretty good perspective of like his powers. Like, I'm glad that for this movie it wasn't an origin story, but it's like, he's been around, but his powers keep evolving, because at that time they didn't think about doing flying, just leaping over tall bounds. But as he keeps going on, his powers evolve to where he can fly and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. There wasn't in an early draft of the script, there was going to be that he was leaping, and then eventually that leads to him actually being able to stay aerial. And you wanted to, we were trying to figure out a way of actually showing that. And if the runtime would have been a little bit longer, if we would have had one of those 3-4 hour runtimes like Justice League had, then maybe we would have been able to show all that. But with given our runtime, we didn't quite get to it, but you do see him the first, as it starts to go, you see just that it overtakes him and that he can take off. And so it was a fun perspective.
Yeah, and I'm glad you guys went with Metallo, because I feel like for Dawn of Justice, they could have picked him as like the final bad guy instead of Doomsday.
I agree. Yeah, it is a really solid character. That's always fun.
Yeah, because there was a perfect setup. Like, I forgot the name of the guy, but the guy that was in a wheelchair that blamed Superman for like what happened to him in Man of Steel, he could have been Metallo and everything.
Very true. Yeah. I like the way that you're thinking about that, because Metallo being who he was, it could have very well been.
Yeah, because I like this graphic novel / anime movie called Public Enemies, where Superman and Batman both fight Metallo, but then Superman gets shot. He gets saved, but I figure like, some aspect of that could have been used for Dawn of Justice. Just maybe instead of Superman being dead, like maybe he's just in some kind of comatose state because of like an overdose of kryptonite radiation or something.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's great. And I think that where you're getting at is what's funny is because like so many super fans out there are like, but this and then we could have been that. And I'm sure that the studio heads and the writers and everybody that goes into it have their reasons, but it is fun with that's one of the beautiful things about like fan films, fan fiction, is that we can all have our own little opinion on how we could go about it and what we would have done differently, because it is a lot of fun, because there used to be no fan films. You never got anything like that. And now if you're a Superman fan, if you're a Batman or a Star Wars fan, there are some really great fan films out there that do tell these stories in another way. It's like, oh, in another universe, that there it is. And it's funny that we could each have our own little universe. And that's one of the reasons why we're continuing with the Supermen universe, is that we're trying to, go in a slightly different direction than what we've seen before, because it's all in good fun. It's all storytelling in our own way. And, like we could all be our own little Supermen if we want to.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of like that this is like pretty much guess your own version of Superman and Batman if they exist around the 1940s, which is ironically when they started out in the comics.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we did it. That's why we picked the World War II being the setting of it. And then with that, for the series that we're doing, it's called Memoirs Under the Yellow Sun. And it's we did episode 1 so far. Then you're introduced to a very young Lex Luthor as a child, and then we will be, these different things to build up to present day without going into too much detail, but we're gonna have fun with evolving as it goes. As maybe as technology gets better, we could introduce that into it as well. Because of course, there's times where if Superman was always around, there would be downtime where it wasn't that cool, or the feeling of not needing him anymore or something, and then maybe goes in obscurity for a while and then has to come back, because if he's always there saving it, what's the point? People get a little easy whenever they think that no matter what happens, Superman will just show up. So it's nice to get it in little bits and doses that we could, have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, if Batman Beyond shows anything, it's pretty much if the hero gives up or dies or anything, then it's like he never even bothered, never showed up in the first place.
Yep, that's exactly it.
But so, I guess with James Gunn's new DCU going, you think he might be able to think about auditioning for for Superman and any other characters that James Gunn's trying to bring to the screen?
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I've auditioned for a couple projects, not necessarily in the DC universe, but I have had the opportunity to audition for some in the Marvel world. And again, they use so many codes that we're not even sure what we're auditioning for. Some of the times you're just looking at the dialogue, you're like, is this something else? So yeah, I would absolutely love to. I love James Gunn's work. I mean, even dating back to his indie work, like if anybody of the dark superhero stuff, the movie Super that he made with Rainn Wilson as the superhero was just so much fun. And I like what he did, even with I know he didn't direct it, but even with Brightburn, it's like, what do you do if Superman was bad, or an adolescent teen that was using his powers the wrong way? And I just love his creativity and what he's done, and of course with Guardians and doing the last Suicide Squad movie. There's a reason why they gave him the keys to the DCU. I mean, there's a very good reason. He's a very, very gifted, talented, visionary artist, and I would absolutely love to be in a part of that. I worked one day with him. I was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for a blink and you miss it moment. I was one of the Sovereign. But just being on set, I mean, I was there, on set with everybody. It was like I got to sit there with Star-Lord, and it was like got to Star-Lord and Gamora had their big scene was literally on the stage right next to us, and it's just being a part of that and just seeing the way that it is. And again, I've been on other sets that aren't as fun. It feels like work, and the energy that James Gunn brings to set and just the vibe, you could tell it's going to be fun. You could tell it may not be the best movie, whether it's for, storyline purposes, but it's going to look cool. The actors are going to be into it. It's going to be visually stimulating, and it's going to be a cool concept like you've never quite seen before. And that's what I think whenever they gave him Guardians, he's a young filmmaker, and they give him Guardians, and it's like, it's not the prize thing. They're not giving him Batman, or they're not giving him, the keys to one of the big franchises, but by giving him Guardians, and then seeing that Guardians may be one of the most beloved ones from a fan standpoint. And it's just, the way that he did it and put it all together, I'm just such a fan. I love his work, and I would love to be a part of one of the DC things. I know they're going to go, they're going younger with Superman going forward, but if there's ever an opportunity to do it, you bet your ass I will do everything in my power to be a part of it, and be a part of history.
Yeah, well, only time can tell, since we only got like at least 2 years before Superman Legacy will be coming out.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't know if you saw, it was kind of a joke that our movie was titled that we announced last year. We're gonna do a follow up to World War, and it was gonna be called Supermen Legacy. So we're bouncing around title changes now because I don't want it to be confusing. So we're bouncing around. So if anybody has any suggestions, hit us up. Let us know. Supermen World War on Instagram, on Facebook. Superman. Like I said, Donnie Callahan's the director. I'm decently accessible. You're able to contact me on Instagram. Decently accessible. My inbox does get full, but I try to check it as much as I can. So if anybody out there has any really cool recommendations for a cool name, we need one now that Legacy has been taken away from us. Again, we did it first.
Well, I mean, you could go with Legacies.
Right, yeah, we're trying to think about fun ones. We have a list that we're going off of that we're trying to see which one fits the storyline best. But a Legacy, it's such a good name. I mean, it's definitely a good name.
Yeah. Well, I would say that's our time for today. Thank you again for being a part of this podcast, Kevin.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Anybody wants to check out Supermen World War, you can find it on YouTube. Memoirs Under the Yellow Sun. It's all under the same YouTube channel. So give that a follow along. We're going to keep on making them. So we do it for you guys. We're fans first. Do it for the fans, made from fans. So please join us on our journey. And hopefully I will see you at in Metropolis one of these days.
You got it. And stay tuned for my YouTube channel for more Superman-related podcasts coming out this year. Thanks for tuning in on Superman Day, everybody. If you want to see the full movie, be sure to click on the thumbnail here and give a follow to director Don Callahan's channel, as he's about to make more works with Memoirs Under the Yellow Sun. Also, if you have Amazon Prime, check out Kevin Caliber's latest film, The Craving, and follow the Indiegogo link below to donate on his next upcoming film, A Hard Place. As always, like and subscribe for more content. This is BD Knight, signing out.